of life. To felicitate our guests, let me please invite Sunita Tripathi on stage.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to wait for a moment for everybody to settle down, please. We had a full house for the last session. I'm hoping for one for us as well. So as I mentioned, I am so kind of blown away. I'm not in the moment right now because I absolutely fell in love with the conversation that Saurabh and Uday had. As a mom, one always thinks about equality and worries. I'm so happy that there are conversations like this happening. I'm happy that we have a platform like Himalayan Echoes, and this audience, this group of people has just, this feels like home. Janvi, are you listening? This feels like home. Thank you so much for creating platforms like this where one can feel at home and have important conversations. So as you all know, this conversation that I was supposed to have was supposed to be with Mayur Sharma of Highway on my plate. But due to unforeseen circumstances, he couldn't make it, and I felt very, very bummed. But then Janvi introduced me to Sujeev last evening, and I was absolutely delighted because he's a man after my heart. Since I believe I'm a work in progress, so when I saw my tag saying mental health and well-being expert, I said that is not true. I'm a work in progress. I have a platform called Pursuit of Balance because one is constantly striving for that. And so when I was introduced to Sujeev, I was so pleased to know of his journey that not only is he somebody who is a corporate honcho, he's a thought leader, but he's also a coach, somebody who believes in mindfulness. And for me, it's all about connecting the head with the heart. I think it's not easy to make money, but I think it's much better if whatever you do for a living can help and affect the larger audience, the larger world. And I mean, sitting over here, I'm just blown away with this setting, like I'm being said. Yeah, so Sujeev, I know that our MC introduced you. I'd like you to say in your words. I know the rest one can Google, but Sujeev, if you could tell us a little bit about what you do to set a context. And I do want the students over here to take note because we have a treasure trove with us. He's a coach as well, apart from his many other interests and experiences. So guys, please jot away your questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. So, yeah, I'm just mesmerized by what we are seeing from here. I'm just getting carried away with the view. So, I dabble across many worlds. I wear many hats, so I have no hair left. So I run a consulting firm. I chair a think tank, and I do writing. I've got 6 books behind me, and I travel. And yeah, so those are the worlds I live in, and I do a lot of mentoring and coaching, and I've been also mentored and coached by multiple people, and that's human interactions is what excites me. And when I was asked to do this session, I said, why not talk about each other's journeys and to share our journeys and to also listen to others about their journeys.
So I'm a bit on the spot. I'm not used to sharing my journey that much. I'm used to picking people's heads and finding out what they do. So this is going to be interesting for me. So like I normally tell people, I do not have a cookie cutter resume. I have lived my life on my own terms. I run away from reality most of the time, as my mother tells me. I have studied, and pretty much followed my heart. And then I landed my job at Business World, completely out of the blue. I did not know Business World from Business Today or Business India when I met the owner. And so I just thought this would be a random meeting. And 3 hours later, I get a call from him saying that he'd like to offer me a job. to set up the well-being platform at Business World. And I was just like, whoa, that's a huge fund that he's taken on me. And I was extremely grateful because that's when my career started. And I was not young when it started. So that's one lesson for you guys over here, that I don't think age really matters when you're on a journey. And I love, that Janvi coined this term inner journeys, because that's what we're all on. And Sujeev, the topic is inner journeys. And I really want to understand, how do you connect with yourself?
Interesting question. And as we were discussing, so I started my career, as we were discussing yesterday, very early on. My first degree is chartered accountant. So I began as a chartered accountant, moved through the world of finance, and then I moved through marketing. So my second degree is marketing, and then I got into coaching, a certification in coaching from Columbia University, and then many more certifications I went to do. And I think when I look at my own personal inner journeys, it's also always about taking feedback, talking to others, having mentors to talk to, and finding the gaps within yourself, and to say that, what is that gap? And in the corporate world, when you start as accountant, you're working on finance deals, and you say that you don't have skills on finance, so you then start acquiring certifications, you start getting into university degrees for that. The same thing as I graduated to getting into boards of company, corporate boards, and people used to say, how come a chartered accountant telling us how to do branding? So then I got into a marketing degree, because I think that ABCD is very important to tell the world that, okay, I have this. You may have the skills, but in today's world, so people are looking at certifications, that's important to tell that, okay, this is also a skill you have, this is what a certification you have. And in that quest of inner journeys, I figured out also that in my journeys, I figured out that at the end of the day, it is people. So as we have conversations around AI, there's been conversations around technology. At the end of the day, it is the people who drive, and it is to understand the people. And I think that's where I also relate to being the Himalayan citizen, whereas in the Himalayas, I think we try to understand people more deeper as a Himalayan person, whether across the Himalayas. And so that's where you get intrigued, you get curious, and then you want to learn, and you find some fascinating people in the journey, and that's where your journey becomes more and more interesting.
I'm just curious to know, what are the personal practices that you sort of indulge in to connect with yourself?
So reflection, I take breaks every 6 months. At times even more frequent. I take off, I would be somewhere around the world. I would take off 8-10 days, and I've been supported by a great family. My wife Alpa is sitting here, and they allow me to do that. My office allows me to do that. Say if I would take off 5 days, then my office knows between 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning, that's the only time I'm available. And at times those are also not available. So you reflect on it, you're constantly looking at your gap, you're constantly looking at the feedback you're getting. And the reflection is also happening every day. I do have this gratitude practice where before you go to bed, you're reflecting the day you had, you're thanking people that you met, so wonderful people you meet, wonderful things happen to you. So that gratitude practice, that adds into the reflection that you do every now and then. And then you find the gaps, and then you go in to fill the gaps, and then you look for people to fill the gaps, and you get into events, programs. So that's how it works for me.
I'm just curious to know, is my mic audible?
Now it's
Okay, all right. So I'm just curious to know, do you feel selfish when you indulge in taking care of yourself or taking time out to connect with yourself? Because I know I do.
Yeah, there is a sense of being selfish. At times you feel like you're a narcissist. I mean, that's what at times you're also told. And so but then your personal journey is, nobody can indulge in your personal journey. You have to, the thinking part you have to do, the reflecting part you have to do. And that's what I believe in. Nobody can do it for you. And I think especially when I get into coaching, I tell people that the action that needs to be taken is to be taken by that person. I can't do. I can, it's like going trekking. If there's a destination, you know the route, somebody can tell you this is the route you can take, but you need to indulge in that route yourself. And so for me, that's very important, and I think that makes you quite a bit selfish, that you are constantly looking at yourself, you're constantly thinking about yourself. But if, so one of my uncles, when he wrote this piece in my mother tongue, and he wrote that, he used to say that if you are selfish and it's benefiting others, then it's good to be selfish. And I think that's the sort of thing that I started early on in life, and that I continue to think of that way.
Okay, so for me, my family makes fun of me because I have a whole entourage of people to help me on my inner journey, which they say you should directly be connecting with yourself. But I feel if one has the access, then why not? So, of course, I do the basics. I meditate. About 5 months ago, I started yoga with this amazing teacher called Mini Shastri. And Sujeev, I've always thought of myself as somebody who needs movement. I need like a spin cycle class, or I want kickboxing, or I want dushum. But yoga has been such a humbling practice for me that I have realized just within like the first 5 classes, there was a time, I think the first 3-4 weeks, that when I did my yoga classes, sometimes I'd be on the mat and I'd be in a position and I was crying. I wasn't crying because I was in pain physically. It's because something came up for me, something that's been, like we were talking about at the life stages that we're probably at in terms of aging parents, teenagers, children in their own, transitional phases. I just find myself crying on the mat, and it's such a release. So there's meditation that I do. There's yoga that I started. I have my therapist, who I find helps me immensely, and then I have a healer. So my family makes fun of me because my mother, like I was telling you, I have a group chat, a family group chat. So there's my mother, my father, my sister, brother-in-law, nephew, my daughter and I. And I'm the one who posts the maximum, that I phone DND meditating, phone DND yoga, do not call at therapy. So they say that, Nina, if this is you after all of this, and then I tell my mother, I'm like, Mother, if I was not doing this, can you imagine me then? So they kind of make peace, they make fun of me, but I'm like, it is what it is. So we're going to come to my favorite topic of mental health. And like what I believe, that we all have mental health, right? And we all have issues from time to time. And this conversation is kind of, it's more talked about, I think, post-pandemic. In fact, it came to the point, I feel, where, so I started talking about mental health when I was in college, in the 90s. I will not tell you which year, but so at that time, everybody said to me that, chup kar Nina, don't tell people, pagal lagegi, and now people are talking about it. So I kind of, want you to share your point of view about the mental health conversation today, and how you tie that back into your leadership model, because I know you do journeys with CEOs and in your coaching as well. So I want you to talk about how you tie your understanding, your belief of what mental health, the mental health scenario is today, into your models of leadership, and how you work with your mentees.
Yeah. I think on mental health, I think it's becoming more popular, and at times I say it's becoming very fashionable to say that you're seeing a therapist, or you're having mental health issues. And I think I also look at your social structures and our family structures, because earlier, like I went to a Protestant school, so you have there are systems that get you into thinking about empathy, about compassion, about some basic fundamentals. And that is what we see is missing. And then perhaps that is what you're not being able to grapple with. And you are in this sort of silos of your Snapchat circles, your silos of your WhatsApp groups. And so that's where the disconnect comes in. And so what I try to do is, one is, yes, let's talk about it, but also not get obsessed about talking about mental health, and to really look at what is the issue you're having. And for me, this whole thing revolves around fear, about fear, about, this is where everybody's scared. It's scared of, you've got you're scared of getting sick, you're scared of dying. And I think I go back to, and for me, the fundamentals have been when I was in grade 6, I had a Japanese training teacher who came in, and he used to say that if you worry, you die. If you don't worry, you die. So why to worry? And that became my mantra for life, that if you worry, you die. You don't worry, you die. So why to worry? And this is been the way in which, and everybody who talks about mental health, and to say that where is that fear coming in? And over the years, as I was in college, so again, when you think you're having mental health issues and when you're not talking about it, and this whole discourse around fear has helped me. And so this is J. Krishnamurti's Freedom from Fear. You read his works, and so that helps you to think through. So it is an issue that I expose, but then I get people to internalize when you are saying mental health, what is the definition of mental health for you? Because each person has his or her own definition about what does mental health mean to you, what does well-being mean to you. And so this is what, as a coach, then I would get them to continuously reflect on it and bring about their own definitions. And at times it's just something that you are thinking of and it's not there.
So I'm just curious to know, because you're a leader, so you have a company and you have people that you hire. So how does your attitude change? I'm sure you're human. What are the biases? I mean, like I was telling you yesterday, a couple of years ago when Yucha Birla was starting her platform on mental health, she was doing an event at FICCI with all the big wigs from the mental health world. The top psychiatrists internationally had come, psychologists had come, there were coaches, the who's who. And I helped her organize that event. And I suffer from anxiety, hence I have this list of questions, lest I forget, what's important. And I was sitting on the stage and with all these very tall people around me, tall in stature, tall in physicality as well. And I was supposed to address the audience. And suddenly I panicked, and literally, luckily, my psychiatrist was sitting on my right and he gave me a glass of water. That calmed me down. Now that scared the hell out of me, because I said, does that make me unemployable? And then I realized that the fact that I need to work with people who understand that Nina Kler is bloody smart, but she has anxiety. And on a good day, she can do superbly well. But on a bad day, you have to allow her the grace. So how do you deal with people who come to you with issues?
No. One is that for me, every individual is different. And this is what we need to really appreciate, the fact that every individual, and you can be in the same class, like with siblings, you grow up in the same house, you eat the same food, you potentially go in the same school, but you come out as different individuals. And it's very important to understand the differences. And the more we appreciate, and this is what I try to do is with, when people join in, they're interns or fellows, or they just come in, as we call it, the sparring bead into the company. We just try to understand them. You understand where are they coming from. There are cultural baggages people carry, there are social baggages they carry, there are different upbringing that is there. And so it's very important to understand and also to make them comfortable. Because that's what, especially working with large consulting firms, and when we partner with them, we see that there's so much of intimidation around. And so how do you not do that? How do you not make people intimidated? And so these are the things, basic fundamental issues that I look at, and then to say that, okay, this is how you internalize this.
Okay. Oh my God, 1 minute, that's not fair. That is absolutely not fair. I'm going to take 5. At the least. 3, there you go. So I just kind of wonder that, when one shares about your vulnerabilities and you talk about mental health, does that amount to professional suicide?
Not necessarily. It depends, and organizations are transforming. And some of the work I do at the Babson College, on entrepreneur leadership and on professionalism, professional development, we talk about, especially post-COVID-19, you becoming more independent to express yourself. You can, the vulnerabilities, earlier you were scared, but now more and more people are getting, sort of accommodative. And as I would say, more, bots will come in to look at how you are performing in your initial, sort of recruitment that is going to go on, where technology is going to come in. I think they would be more compassionate about the vulnerabilities rather than human beings who are judgmental.
Okay. So since we do have students here, and I think everybody probably would want to know that what would your advice be to somebody wearing your coach hat? What would your advice be to somebody who's feeling lost?
No, it's first is to find someone to talk to. That's very important, and for me personally, that was very important. One is to say that I need someone to talk to, and to be able to talk to. I think that's what I would talk to young people about, and to be able to have open conversations, whether it is whoever you're comfortable with, and that is something that I feel is very important to do.
So I think conversations that we're having here and the kind of platforms that exist like Himalayan Echoes, extremely grateful. Thank you, Janvi. Thank you, Namita. Any questions from the audience? Do we have time for questions?
All these children were asking. Some of these children were asking for their hands up. One of your hands up, the kids.
All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.